guys, welcome back to another episode of Books and Banter. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Coral.
So we're full into spooky season now.
It's here.
Yeah, so we thought that we would talk about books by the master of horror himself, Stephen King. So Stephen King is just very, very prolific. I'm sure you've probably read at least like one thing by him maybe, or seen a movie based on one of his works. But he's written 63 novels, hundreds of short stories. He also writes under the name Richard Bachman. So if you've read any books by that author, that's actually Stephen King. If you didn't know, FYI. So we each have chosen one title each, by King, and we're going to tell you about today. So, all right, Coral, what did you read?
So I actually read one of his novellas, which is perfect if you're looking for something fast-paced to just get you in the spooky season. You aren't sure if you want to commit to a full, some of Stephen King's books are they're bricks. So if you want something
using bicep curls,
if you wanted something that you could just jump into and get through, and it sets the mood, this is perfect. I read The Mist.
Nice. I've read that, yeah.
Yeah, it's spooky. It's definitely, it's fast-paced. And it's a novella he wrote in 1985, and it was actually it's been published as part of one of his collections called The Skeleton Crew, which features some other iconic stories by him. But The Mist essentially follows David. He lives kind of on a lakefront, and he lives there with his son, Billy, and his wife, Steph. It's a summer day, it's hot, it's great, and this horrible storm rolls through, the storm that they've never experienced before. It breaks a window, it knocks down trees, it knocks out their power, but luckily all three of them are okay, and they come out the next morning, but they notice in the distance on the other side of the lake there's this mist, and it's this dense, it's not natural, it feels unnatural, but they're like, you know what? Can't do anything about that. It's just fog. David takes his young son Billy, and they go into town, and they go to the supermarket, even though the power's out, to grab, we've done it all, every
essentials.
Time, every time we think it's going to snow in Oklahoma, we're all at Walmart, we're all at Brahms, we know what it's like. So they're at the store, and so is half the town. And this mist keeps moving, and finally it kind of overcomes the store while they're waiting in this super long line to check out. And it quickly becomes apparent that there are some things in the mist. Things that aren't very nice.
Right, things that are alive.
Things that are alive. And things that don't want the people in that store to be alive. So I think this one is really great because, yes, there's this horror monster aspect, but at the same time, it's really a great book about human reactions and how different people react to kind of horrible events, because you've got this full cast of characters. There's the people who work at the grocery store, there's the people who live in this town year round, but there's also these tourists who don't live there, there's some military people, there's teachers and the butcher and the local people of this community, and kind of how they react to this very scary event. And there's also someone in that store who is trying to convince everyone that this is the end times, and the only way out of it is a human sacrifice.
Yeah, oh gosh.
So
I forgot about that.
It's very fast-paced. It's creepy. And I will say this, if you've seen the movie, it's different. So you should give the book a try. You probably will like the book more.
I think the movie is good. I like the movie, but I did like the story, the book better.
So this one is available in print, on Libby, and as an e-audiobook on Libby as well. So lots of options to check out this kind of iconic Stephen King story.
Nice. Okay, so I know King is mostly known for his horror writing, but he's also written quite a bit of non-horror, and my actual favorite story of his is The Body, which is a short story that the movie Stand By Me was based on. He also wrote Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, which the movie was based on, and that was in a collection I think called Different Seasons. I'm not talking about either one of those today, but just to point out that he has written some really good non-horror stuff, and so the one that I'm talking about today is another non-horror, and it's 11/22/68. 1963. So this came out takes place in 2011 in Maine, which as most of his stories do. And it's about a high school English teacher named Jake, and he's currently teaching a GED class, and he asks his students for an assignment to write about a day that changed their lives. And one of his students named Harry writes about the day that his alcoholic father, murdered his mom and his siblings. And so Harry was the only one left alive. And that story really sticks with Jake. And then we jump to 2 years later, and Jake goes to see his friend Al, who owns a diner. And Al, it turns out, has lung cancer, and he asked Jake to step into the diner's pantry. Well, in the pantry is a time slip that takes you back to that same town, but in 1958. And so he wants Jake. Al had been trying to go use the time slip to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And so, but now that he's sick, he wants Jake to take up that mantle. And Jake is kind of he's a bit reluctant, but he goes back first, and he ends up deciding to save Harry's family. Mm-hmm. So he goes back to murder Harry's father. And then he decides, okay, he'll try to take on the so his mission is to try and kill Lee Harvey Oswald before Oswald can kill Kennedy. And so he goes back. It's 1958, so he's in Maine, but he travels down to Texas, and he settles in kind of outside of Dallas. He gets a job as an English teacher at the high school. He meets a librarian named Sadie, and he kind of falls for her. And so that's all I'll say really about the plot. But then it just kind of followed his. How is he preparing to do this, and is he going to do it? Fine, read the book and find out if you haven't already. I really like alternate timeline stories, and of course you want to know is he going to succeed? Is he going to kill Oswald? What will be the effects if Kennedy lives? I find that just really interesting. And so it is a bit long, of course, as some of King's books are, but I feel like it moves at a good pace. And it is also available in print and e-audio and e-book on Libby. So
cool. And this is a great year to be reading Stephen King. He's had 2 movies already come out this year based on his works. The first was The Monkey, which had Theo James in it, and then now he has The Long Walk is out, which was published under Bachman, I believe. And then at the end of this year, we're also going to see The Running Man come out, and that one stars Glenn Powell. So there's definitely some King movies on the horizon, so you might want to check out some of those before the movies come out. But as always, we really encourage you to check the content warnings and trigger warnings for these books. As some of them are horror, but a lot of them deal with really heavy topics just in general, and sometimes language can be harsh, things like that. So we encourage you to read what you would like to read, things that you are comfortable with. So if Stephen King is not your vibe, no worries. We have a ton of videos on this channel.
Got you covered.
We've got you covered. Go check out some of those other videos, and also just visit your local library, talk to the librarians there. I'm sure we can find a book that is perfect for you. But until next time, stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.